Au commencement du XVIe siècle, quand Thomas More forgea du grec le mot « utopie », c'est-à-dire non-lieu, pour baptiser son traité sur la cité idéale, les premières universités avaient déjà une belle histoire derrière elles. Leur regard sur la culture et la science était destiné à s'élargir sur la planète et à reconsidérer l'Europe et leur autorité mondiale d'une toute autre façon.
Esto no impide que Europa siga siendo el lugar de las universidades, especialmente porque están ubicadas en todas partes. Hemos elegido este lugar preciso, Europa, para forjar otro neologismo, utopía. Un ideal con un lugar real, un ideal que define claramente los objetivos más ambiciosos para la Europa de hoy.
A science and a culture of excellence, in support of a system of global well-being, awareness, wisdom and practice, in a real, believable European university, bringing together more than 6 languages and 6 prestigious universities that rank among the best, but are not yet weighed down by size or tradition, and are therefore still agile and ready to embark on the journey towards a new, subtle and healthy form of leadership for Europe in the world.
Benvinguts a Utopia.
Welkom in Utopia.
Bienvenue à Utopia.
Välkommen till Utopia.
Dobrodošli u Utopiji.
Bienvenidos a Utopia.
Welcome to Utopia.
Vive l'utopie.
Good morning, everyone. It's 10 a.m. London time, 11 a.m. for many of you lucky ones. I know Monday mornings are tough ones, so let me spice it up and welcome you to this second Utopia Week, hosted by the University of Warwick. I am Alicia Golisano, a PhD student both at Warwick and Cergy, Paris, thanks to Utopia co-tutelle scheme, and with Luc Mepham, I will be your host for the opening ceremony. Luc, you ready to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Alicia. So good morning, everybody. I'm Luc Mepham, President of Warwick Students' Union, which is an independent organisation supporting and representing students here at the University of Warwick. Now, I've recently become very involved with Utopia, and I'm now one of the Vice Presidents of the Student Council and also act as one of 2 student representatives to the Executive Board.
Thank you, Luke. So now we'll be joined by Professor Stuart Croft, the Vice-Chancellor and President of the University of Warwick, and Nikki Muckle, Secretary General for the Utopia Alliance. Stuart, we have seen in the short film that the Utopia Alliance brings together 6 nationally distinct universities committed to building a connective and inclusive community, addressing global as well as local challenges. Can you tell us a little more, please?
Of course, good morning, and I'm delighted that so many people are able to join us for the Warwick Utopia Week. So you ask about what we are doing in Utopia, what are our aims, what is our purpose? So our aim is that by 2025, we will be an open, multicultural, federated operation of connected campuses, facilitating free movement for all of our members, staff or students, and the involvement of the citizens in the cities and towns and regions in which our universities are located. Our mission is to enable and support an inter-institutional learning process, facilitated through the creation of a Utopia learning community, a Utopia knowledge community. But this alliance is not only about working with each other. We are also engaging externally, from our local communities, as I just mentioned, to both other European universities and also global partners. As Utopia, we have a short-term pilot plan from 2019 to 2022, a mid-term mission which takes us to 2025, and a long-term vision to take us to 2050. For this short-term pilot, Utopia has received funding from the European Commission, from the Commission's call to undertake pilot projects to develop European University. Our project, Utopia 2050, started in December 2019 and was our Alliance's first success. And since then, we've been able to receive further funding for other projects. As for Warwick, we see ourselves very much as an international university, international in our outlook, in our staff makeup, in our student makeup, in our research and teaching collaborations. We are also European at our heart. We are proud to be a member of the Utopia Alliance, delivering open, innovative and inclusive higher education in Europe. We want to contribute to strengthening European values and identity, and to increase the global competitiveness of the European higher education area.
Thank you very much, Stuart. So we'll of course hear much more about all of this and the Utopia Alliance when representatives of the other 5 universities join us for a panel discussion towards the end of the ceremony. Now, Nikki, now that we have a more shared understanding of what Utopia is, could you please tell us a little bit more about Utopia Week itself and its aims?
Thank you, Luke, and good morning, everybody. Welcome. So the Utopia Week is a chance for us really all to come together and take stock of what we were doing. We have 2 of these weeks every year, and each one is hosted by a different partner. So today it's Warwick's turn to host Utopia Week. And there are 3 main aims of Utopia Week. Firstly, it's a chance for us really to take stock of the year that we've just had. Obviously, this is not the year that we were planning to have. Things have been very different, so this is quite important at the moment. We've achieved a lot, and I want to say thank you to everybody here that works on Utopia for the amount that they have achieved in the last year. And I'd like people just to take a moment to recognise how much we have achieved and how far we've come. So we have a lot of our board meetings. We have a strategic board, an executive board, and a lot of our work streams are having meetings. I know there's a meeting later this afternoon for our education group, which is making some quite important decisions. Secondly, it's a time for us to look forward and plan what happens next. Now, I know that the next few months are likely to be quite difficult, but looking at this programme, I think we have time now to be sort of cautiously excited about what's happening next for Utopia. There's a lot happening, and there's a lot that's going to happen. Meetings that we have in this week, we have our advisory board meeting for the first time tomorrow. We have meetings on education and the European education area, research and the European research area. We have a lot of meetings on inclusivity and diversity. And we also have a lot of groups that are meeting for the first time. Estates, public engagement, our Secretary Generals are meeting. And I'm quite excited about those groups coming together for the first time and what they are going to do. And then lastly, and possibly most importantly, this is a time for us to really involve our communities in what Utopia is doing. So we have events run by and for students with the Sustainability Commission and other events that the students are running. We have a lot of events for staff. We have one on research opportunities, but we also have staff coming together in thematic areas for the first time, which is exciting. So we have sessions on the SDGs, sessions on City of Culture, sessions on health and medicine and our response to COVID. And we also have sessions with our external stakeholders. So we have the first meeting with our global partners. We have sessions with the Western Balkans. And we also have sessions on discussions with industry and with our local and regional agencies. So those are the 3 aims. And then lastly, as with all birthday parties, you'd hope there'd be a party. That's quite difficult to do online, but we have tried to put some social aspects into the programme. So we have an esports competition running, and we also have a pub quiz on Thursday, which is as close as we could get to a party this week.
Thank you both for talking us through that. It is now time to turn our attention to our first guest speaker. Themis Christophidou, Director General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture at the European Commission, wanted to join us today. Unfortunately, a sudden change made it impossible for her, but we did pre-record her message to us. So we asked Themis to speak about the Commission's vision of the European universities, and here is what she wanted to share with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to be with you today. I wish we were able to hold this meeting in your premises. You might know of my personal attachment to Warwick University, where I accompanied my daughter 4 years ago to settle in for the start of her undergraduate studies. A beautiful autumn day in a welcoming environment, which I will always remember very fondly. Thank you to the University of Warwick for putting this week together despite the present circumstances. This really is a symbol of the resilience and perseverance of our higher education sector in the face of this global pandemic. I would also like to wish a happy birthday to Utopia. This has not been an easy year, but you have done a remarkable job, and not a moment too soon. This pandemic, the climate crisis, the digital revolution, these are complex challenges that affect each other, and they really demand the kind of working together, pooling resources and expertise that European university alliances like EUTOPIA bring to the table. We cannot afford to work in isolation, to compete with one another. These are not your challenges or my challenges. These are our challenges. They demand strategic, structural, and sustainable cooperation. They demand that we shift the way we organize, adopting the kind of challenge-based approach to education and research that you are spearheading, linking your work to the European Green Deal and to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. In particular, I would like to praise your partnerships with institutional, economic, and social actors within the EUTOPIA knowledge creation communities. They will offer real-world experience to EUTOPIA students and researchers addressing these challenges. We also do appreciate your postdoctoral programs for early career researchers working on data and artificial intelligence, on health and disease, energy and sustainability. These are highlighted in a recent report on the vision for the future of universities as an example of the positive societal impact universities bring by their integration into innovation ecosystems. You can be proud of your work there. And I would like to thank you for your recent presidential declaration on mobility. Your pursuit to find multiple modalities of mobility, covering virtual, blended, and physical mobility, could be an inspiration to either higher education institutions across Europe that are experiencing similar challenges, especially as COVID-19 limits our options on this issue. All of this is emblematic of the work you have invested into innovating the way learners experience higher education. And these experiences will be instrumental in understanding what works and what doesn't, as we leverage the European Universities Initiative to transform higher education in Europe as a whole. I cannot stress enough that the voice of your 165,000 students is vital to help guide the implementation of your vision. After all, we must remember that it is their future we're laying the groundwork for, and they should have an active role in that process. That is why I am delighted to see that students are organizing lots of events on the 25th of November to promote the opportunities offered by your European university. I would also like to thank you for your strong presence at the joint online meeting between the 41 European universities and the Directors General responsible for higher education of the member states on the 4th of November. I really hope that this meeting inspired you to continue your great work. My team and I are committed to supporting you and will continue organizing these gatherings regularly so that together we can engineer effective solutions to the challenges we all face. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, European universities are at the very heart of our policy agenda. They're deeply intertwined with the 3 policy communications we published on the 30th of September, presenting the European education area, the Digital Education Action Plan, and the European Research Area. Together, these initiatives provide the basis for transforming Europe's higher education institutions. Over the next year, we will work in close cooperation with you, with the member states, and with stakeholders to co-develop an agenda for the transformation of higher education. This agenda will focus on strengthening cooperation, lifelong learning, and inclusion to help pass on the lessons you learn as a European university to those 5,000 institutions of higher education across Europe. Our first step will be to launch an open public consultation, complemented with more targeted ones. Following the same line as in the European Universities Initiative, we want you, institutions of higher education, to be in the driver's seat. You should lead this process because it is your future we're shaping together. But of course, we're not starting from scratch. We have already been in close contact with all the European university alliances, looking into issues that we know will be a fundamental part of this transformation. We will work towards improved quality assurance, finding out how to set up a European Union degree, and exploring the feasibility of a statute for alliances like the European universities. In addition, we need to focus on responding better to shifting labor market needs throughout life, providing more flexible and modular learning opportunities through a European approach to micro-credentials. On inclusion, we will increase efforts to ensure that the participants in higher education reflect the diversity of our societies. And on digitalization, we need you to work on using digital tools for teaching and learning in a purposeful way, just replicating face-to-face learning in an online environment. We will also focus our actions on the development of digital skills and competence of learners in a lifelong learning perspective, building, for example, on the success of the digital opportunities traineeships. Most of all, we will foster the building of bridges within and outside your alliances. This collaborative attitude is one of the ways to transform higher education into the force we need to face the challenges of our times. So let me tell you once more how much we value the hard work all your staff and students are putting in this initiative. You really do embody the 4 missions of the university: education, research, innovation, and service to society. So please continue to be the great utopians you have always been. I wish you very fruitful discussions today and every success for Utopia. I thank you and hopefully see you soon.
We'd like to thank Themis for that inspiring message and for taking the time to record this for us. Utopia works, of course, very closely with the Commission to develop this fantastic vision, and we hope to soon have even more opportunities to discuss at a future Utopia Week. And now we turn to our second guest speaker. Utopia is not only focused on European academia, but also on connecting our local regions. And this means aiming to include policymakers, civil society, and the business sector. As such, we're delighted to welcome an eminent speaker from our local government. I'd now like to extend a very warm welcome to Martin Reeves, the Chief Executive of Coventry City Council, the home city of the University of Warwick. Martin, thank you for joining us this morning. Can I please ask you to talk now a little bit about Coventry's heritage and plans, and importantly, the collaboration between the city and the university?
Thanks, Luke, and good morning, everybody in the UK and across Europe. It's lovely to be with you virtually, if not, unfortunately, face-to-face. I've been very fortunate that right from the beginning, Stuart Croft and colleagues at University of Warwick invited me to be part of the very early thinking of Utopia and how we can come together with the great universities that are on this call from across Europe. So I've been really, really lucky to meet a number of you and to understand something of your own universities and your places. And in terms of our own place here in Coventry and our region, incredibly proud to have the University of Warwick as a global leader, but also a university that has always understood its responsibility for anchoring within its local place and being there with us as an opportunity to think about some of the major challenges that we face going forward and that we're currently facing, but to use the power of knowledge and the power of university exchange to think about how we can come up with even more innovative solutions going forward. So we're incredibly proud to have Warwick and incredibly proud to be part of this network. Luke and colleagues, I just wanted to share maybe just 3 sets of thoughts as somebody that has spent most of his career in local government and civic leadership, but also formerly in universities. And they go somewhere along the lines of the context that Utopia is now set in, the learning that already we're seeing, I think, from that network in places like Coventry, and I'm sure it's the same for the other 5 places, and also some of the solutions, which I think are absolutely the key to why this is such an incredibly important and arguably even more timely collaboration. So just a bit about context. Now, when I first met a number of the other universities and was asked by Stuart to get involved, clearly Brexit and some of the challenges that that posed for our networks across Europe was very much in our mind. What wasn't in our mind, of course, was the context of COVID. But I think what this has done has made us realize that some of the global challenges that are in front of all of us, as well as, of course, as those major opportunities for all of our places to continue to grow and prosper for all of our communities. But those challenges, along with global consciousness around the environment, issues around impact, issues around financial challenges in world markets, as well as the ongoing issues on Brexit and what we're dealing with now together, as well as individually in our own places around the impact of this dreaded pandemic, suggests to me that not only was Utopia critical when it was first thought through in the genesis of this great collaboration, I would argue it's now even more important as a result of the deepening and widening of some of those global challenges for us to be able to show with that context how the power of people coming together to share knowledge, to share information, to share wisdom can find a way through some of the dark days that inevitably we do see at the moment, and actually to say there are ways in which we can harness those collaborations for good, and to challenge not just ourselves, but also policymakers, government, decision makers, to think about that we do need to create a very different kind of world going forward, and our places need to be reimagined in light of some of those significant global challenges, and of course ones that are incredibly positive too, alongside those more demanding ones around the fast track of the power of digitally enabled change. And we've all seen that from how we've been able to share some of our thinking over the last 10 months during the pandemic, and do so quite effectively and quite productively, but harness that with the power of people being able to come together physically, hopefully in the near future, to really share ideas and combine that amazing sense of emotional cultural exchange, as well as with our own use of digital and technology. So the challenge and the context makes this even more important. But secondly, what have we learned already as a result of this, and in places like Coventry in our region, as we set our sights on being a host of UK City of Culture and welcoming hopefully over 2.5 million people from around the world to our city, and then to host the Commonwealth Games in 2022, and the need to really understand how people want to work, want to engage, want to think in this really fast changing world. Well, already what COVID, Brexit and some of these challenges has taught us is that interdependency, interconnectivity, networks are more important than ever, bringing people together, however that might be, to share and exchange. They were always important, that was a currency, we knew that, but actually they become even more important as a result of what's happening. The fragility that was mentioned already, the resilience that is required from all of us at individual level, great university anchoring that kind of resilience for our places, but also coming together to be much more robust as more and more things hit us, and we refuse to accept that there aren't these major opportunities that we can all grasp, and particularly the younger generations coming forward to really challenge our thinking that has probably dominated policy for so long. But also, and perhaps most critically, thinking about the structural inequalities I remember speaking about when we came over for one of the early launches of Utopia. These social challenges, which shouldn't heavy us down, but should be our beacon, really, to think, how can we all use the amazing interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary power of our universities, of our students, of our researchers, to be able to think about the really challenging world of deeper inequalities and social injustice. And I believe genuinely Utopia can provide that beacon to not hide from those challenges, but actually hit them head on. And already what we've learned is the power of science, data, empirical evidence. Think about the pandemic, think about Brexit, and the fact that the need for cogent arguments, coherence, not fake news, not fakeness, but real authentic data insight, which can be challenged and understood, interpreted by different experiences across Europe, becomes for me even more important learning as we go forward. And then a final couple of comments on the solutions. Clearly for me, programs like Utopia can at its heart have innovation, the power of individuals sharing in real time their own perspectives. Because the truth about all of this is, whilst we're facing together these global challenges, our places are so unique. They're so special. Our provenance, our history marks us apart. And actually, our own universities have those unique heritage and those differences in how they play within their local, regional, national, and international context. So let's harness that difference, let's celebrate that difference, but through innovation and disruption of new thinking, these kinds of networks like Utopia, for me, will be the brilliant way of understanding impact, what really happens in places like Coventry, in our region, in all your great places every day. And with that, we can really find the solutions to some of the problems that maybe feel intractable, feel almost impossible to solve. And that's the power of Utopia. And I just genuinely believe that what's happened over the last year has made this so much more important. And we've all worked together to collaborate on so many different aspects. And don't get restless about just stopping with the existing frameworks. Let's keep reaching out, creating new networks, using the power of what we've already formed to reach out for new ideas across the globe. Because I really believe that is not necessarily unrealistic. That's something which I think everyone is calling out for. So finally, the power of these networks, collaborations, absolutely proud to have University of Warwick with us to be part of this great European network, which I know has established itself already, but will go from strength to strength. And certainly as a chief executive and a policymaker in localities, I will tell you now that we, as we want to move forward, will be looking to these great networks, to the great knowledge base, experience, and impact understanding across Europe to be able to work with us to solve some of those many challenges, but perhaps most importantly of all, harness and make sure we don't lose these great opportunities to create even more prosperous, sustainable, culturally enriched places for our people to live, work, and grow in. So it's lovely to have been with you, and enjoy the rest of the programme.
Thank you very much, Martin. Now I believe Stuart has a question for you before you leave us.
Martin, thank you very much for that really, really important perspective. And it's fantastic you've been with us right through this journey, exactly as you say. I really wanted to ask you, if I may, about the anchor institutions work that you have, well, created across Coventry and Warwickshire. So for people's understanding, across Coventry and Warwickshire, local authorities, health and hospitals, business organisations, universities, Martin brings us all together in a network, in a framework. Martin, I wonder if you could say why you did that, and also, I know in some countries this is the kind of thing that just happens. You've had to make it happen. Why is it more difficult in Britain to do things of this sort?
Thank you, Stuart. This wasn't rehearsed as part of the opening ceremony, but I'm very delighted to respond to that, because I mentioned at the beginning the power of having University of Warwick, your university, Stuart, as genuinely an anchor organisation, an anchor institution within our great place. But also to understand that whilst that is the case and you're locally rooted and understand the importance of that along with our other anchor institutions, you also understand, and we understand, your need to be flexible and adaptable on a global stage. So I don't know why it's that much more difficult and maybe less natural in the UK than in Europe, but what I do know is with some of the challenges that I mentioned, which are creating ricochet effect and massive change to all of us, what is absolutely critical is that anchoring of those that have provenance in the place. They understand the importance of the ecosystem of how people work, the supply chains into businesses, how people wish to live. And so us being able to bring yourself, Coventry University, the health system, big businesses that have always been anchored in our place, for me, gives us a sense of confidence that while so much will change around us, something is for certain, is that you will be with us to continue, not to just challenge us as a city, but to continue to challenge the region and support the region to become prosperous. And I would argue actually those anchor institutions and those alliances formed really maturely in UK cities and regions alongside the ones that are already established across Europe are another reason why we could collaborate at scale for some of these major policy changes that are in front of us.
Thank you very much, Martin, and thank you for answering Stuart's question. It's been great to have you here with us, although virtually, and we'll have the pleasure to talk to you again in the session about universities and economic development later on in the week. Thank you. So now I'd like to address our colleagues across Europe. It's obviously incredibly unfortunate that we can't all be here on campus for this Utopia Week, especially as Warwick has the lovely tradition of asking students to give our guests guided tours of the university campus. And since we can't do this with you all in person, we thought we'd show you a short film of some of students' favourite places on campus. Here we go.
Favorite space will be the piazza. I mean, especially as a first year when you spend most of your time on campus, whenever there's a big thing going on.
After the food market, just sitting down with friends and eating, listening to music. I feel like it's the heart of Warwick, the piazza.
So my favourite space would probably be the library, because you can either get on with group work there, so discuss work with your friends on the first or second floor, or if you want a bit of a quieter space where you can just get on with your own work, then where I usually go is the fourth floor or the third floor.
The chaplaincy is one of my favourite places to be, very much like the art centre upstairs, in that they're just very comfortable and very calm.
Well, for me, I think that SU is a brilliant place to come and socialise. Today I just happened to come and meet one of my friends. We went to the Bread Oven, which is one of my favourite places to come. And then also the copper rooms is probably the highlight of SU for most people. People tend to go circling before with their different societies.
I like the copper rooms. I like to go to Pop, which is the regular night of the SU every Wednesday.
It's very different to Central Campus. It's much greener and very quiet, very peaceful. So it's nice every now and then to get out of the busy campus and have a space to relax and wind down.
Cryfield pitches, that area for me. Because I do cross country, it's very nice for running around and also for relaxing.
Behind Bluebell, there's like a park on the left-hand side of the pathway, and it's really nice there. There's like no one's around, and then you can just walk into the woods and to chill out.
So my favourite space on campus to work would probably be the learning grid, but then my favourite space in general is probably the sports centre, because I'm there quite often.
The Oculus. I go there to study quite a lot. It's just a really nice open building. It doesn't have the same intensity as the library does.
I like working here at very specific times of day because it gets really nice light. So I like working in the light and kind of face the sun and things like that.
Just to relax on campus, the cafes are really nice. Just to meet with friends and just have a bit of time off, have a bit of time out again of kind of assignments, and that's just nice to have a break there.
And the award for Best Documentary goes to... Oh, it's not this one. Oh, it's another wrong script. My bad. Well, we do hope that you enjoy the film, and I surely can say that this truly is a lovely place to be a student. We very much hope that we'll soon be able to welcome you here physically. As soon as the conditions allow it, our doors are open. And moving on, we are now joined online by our colleagues from the Utopia Alliance partners. Please allow me to introduce you to Eva Wiberg from the University of Gothenburg. God morgon och välkommen.
Tack så mycket, tack så mycket.
François Germinet from Cergy, Paris, mon autre université. Bonjour et bienvenue.
Bonjour, bienvenue, merci beaucoup.
Carolina Pauwels from Free University of Brussels. Goedemorgen en welkom.
Goedemorgen, blij om hier te zijn. Dank u.
Pelegri Uyader Canals from Pompeu, Fabra University, Barcelona. Bon dia y benvingut o bienvenidos.
Bon dia, thank you very much. Lovely to be here with you.
Igor Papič from the University of Ljubljana. Dobro jutro i dobrodošli.
Dobro jutro, dobrodošli, lep pozdrav iz Ljubljane.
And of course, our Stuart Croft, who you met already.
Hello.
Hello again.
Thank you for not testing me with languages.
My job.
Thank you, Alice. So Igor, welcome to the discussion. So as current chair of the Utopia Alliance Strategic Board, may I start by asking you a question, please? So the Utopia Alliance has only existed for about 2 years, but it seems to have come quite a long way nonetheless. Could you please say something about its main achievements to date?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Luke. It's a real pleasure for me to be here with you, dear colleagues, dear friends, dear distinguished guests. Indeed, in the last 2 years, Utopia Alliance has grown from strength to strength with 3 EU-funded projects. These projects are central to our ambition to build a European university. The first one, the most important, is of course our application from the year 2018, I guess, 2019, for the first call for European University Networks, short acronym EUTOPIA 2050. The main goals of these projects are to integrate teaching and learning across our 6 universities, to bring our host regions closer together, to enhance sharing of expertise with neighboring regions, especially Western Balkans is important for our university, to promote inclusivity across all activities and partner institutions, to develop a model of a future-ready higher education by addressing its current challenges and blind spots. The second, also very important project is EUTOPIA Science and Innovation Fellowship Co-Fund. Currently, we are recruiting first group of postdoctoral researchers. We will train 76 in total over 5 years. The project will focus on the vital areas of material science, data and intelligence, health, sustainability, welfare, and inclusion. The fellows will have placement in one of 45 non-academic partner organizations. And the third project that we got in this year is EUTOPIA Train. It will identify and test models for integrated research and innovation strategies. It will promote academia-industry collaboration and adopt open science principles and practices. And it will also explore ways to harmonize research careers, policies, and strategies. So that would be very shortly. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Igor. Now, Eva, can I continue with you?
Of course. Thank you, Alice. Let me give you, do you hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah. So let me give some focus point from our vision and guiding principles. Well, the presidents of the 6 universities have stated that EUTOPIA will be geared towards the challenges of the future, that we will be student-centered and student empowering, and that we will be attentive to the plurality, potentiality, and the international preeminence of Europe's regions. And in our vision, we actually state that our alliance will build on its place-making strengths, connecting cultures and contexts in order to enhance European capability and creativity, and to support the international preeminence of European innovation and influence. Our work becomes even more relevant in a more politically polarized world, and of course also in Europe. We need to be relevant also beyond Europe, and therefore our international strategy is of great importance. And likewise, we want to make active use of the cities where we are based through our placemaking initiatives. Important involvements that were addressed just now by Martin Reeves from the Coventry City Council. We also state that we will be committed to the principles of openness and inclusion. And in our vision, we state our alliance will foster and support knowledge, co-creation by building open resources and collaborative platforms, endorsing open science agendas, and sponsoring the access, mobility, and inclusivity mechanism that liberate our intellectual and social potential. We have a great commitment to democratic European values and citizenship, and we really have to take an active stand for academic freedom and democracy. Those were my few words. Back to you, Alice.
Back to me. Thank you, Eva.
Sorry to look. I don't know.
No worries. We're doing a bit of a double act, going backwards and forwards. It's quite confusing. Thank you, Eva. That was really insightful. So we'll now turn to Caroline and François. Welcome. So Eva has just mentioned that the Alliance is student-centered and student-empowering. Could you please elaborate on this a little? Maybe Caroline could give us some examples of how students have been involved so far in the Alliance, and François, you could then say a bit more about EUTOPIA's postgraduate initiatives, please.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Hello to everyone online. A European university can simply not do without having a central role for the students, as is shown also in this presentation and also previously in the presentation and the conference week in Cergy. Indeed, the students, as Themis Christophidou said, are the future. They will make the future, and they, I hope, will make a better future for themselves and their next children generation. And we definitely need to be SDG oriented and solve all the things that Eva just highlighted. Now, first of all, in the development and of the Utopia 2050 proposal, the students were greatly involved and made the proposal just better. They were there at our launch event in Brussels, and they also have a very crucial role in the governance of Utopia. Secondly, the students are also at the heart of our educational model, as they will co-create, and this is very important, future-oriented course materials, and they will help us in innovating teaching tools and learning practices. That's for sure very important, again, as they perhaps embrace the digital opportunities more than we, our generation, or my generation, if I only speak for myself, would do. Third point is that they are not only at the university to study, but also to become themselves a real human being through interactions. And we're very glad that the students also undertake many activities in order to go beyond educational initiatives. So that's quite impressive and also very important in making them world citizens, I think, and Utopia just offers the framework. Fourth point, they organized, or they attended the conference on the International Conference of Undergraduate Research, Igor, where many universities were present, but also involving universities from Asia, Africa, and the Americas. And at Igor, they actually presented their research, discussed their research, and interact in an international context on research development. Fifth point is that our students are for the moment preparing a conference that should take place in spring 2021. And on this conference will focus on the very important theme. And again, we will have to co-create and co-invent the education in post-COVID times. So a very important topic, and I invite all of you to already note this in your agenda, spring 2021. And lastly, Nikke already mentioned that, I think, or no, the Director General Christophidou already mentioned that on Wednesday there is a session where all the initiatives and opportunities of Utopia project for students will be discussed, will be highlighted, and will perhaps also be taken to the next step. So yes, student-led, student-central, because it is all about them. That's the reason why we are here. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. François, can I turn to you now? So
Yes,
can
sure.
you please hear more about postgraduate initiatives?
Yes, of course. First of all, hello, everybody. Hello, Warwick, Brussels, Gothenburg, Ljubljana, and Barcelona. Let me tell you that the weather is not so nice in Paris today, but I'm sure that Warwick will bring sunshine in our week all this week. And let me tell you that I really enjoyed your movie, your film about the campus in Warwick, and I wish I could be a student again. Unfortunately, I think it won't happen, but congratulations for the campus and the movie. So, of course, we do care a lot about postdoctoral students. Let me tell you that because of Utopia, thanks to Utopia, we have decided in Cergy at CY to change the name and the missions of our college of a doctoral college, and it is now the doctoral and postdoctoral college, and it deals with training students. So Utopia has bring a lot of ideas and insight and energy in the way we think postgraduate students and life of postgraduate students. And we have created many opportunities at the level of the 6 universities. For instance, the 6 universities has launched a joint Utopia PhD co-tutelle program with support of PhD fellowships, and in all the areas, these co-tutelle are obviously co-supervised by academics from our universities, so from Utopia member universities. And we expect a lot of them. We expect a lot of collaborations, and we expect high quality research projects with a global impact. And they are already providing exciting research opportunities between our research centers, and we are quite happy about that. That's in total 20 fellowships that have been awarded by Utopia in 2019 and 2020. And I guess that this is one of these fellowships that Alice got between Warwick and Cergy. Congratulations, Alice. The partners are bringing some their own resources as well as external resources, including philanthropic, regional or national funding. For instance, in Cergy, it's both a national program from the national agency that helps European alliances, and also a special program for excellence, for University of Excellence, as we call it, and that we are part of. We also have launched a postdoctoral a few weeks ago, a postdoctoral program for science and innovation fellowships, science and innovation fellowship program at the level of Utopia, and this is co-funded by the European Commission. So that's one over success of Utopia so far. And we try to train students all together for PhD students as well as postdoctoral students, help them to understand how to deal with their career, how to be aware of the sustainable development goals, etc. And to end, we have submitted to go further. We have submitted to the European Commission a Utopia doctoral co-fund. We have applied in September, and that's if we get it, that's about 39 more PhD students fellowships that we will be able to offer, and on the theme of planetary well-being. So to summarize that, let me say that at Utopia we like co-tutelle, we like to cooperate, we like to co-construct, and the only co that we don't like is COVID. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, François. They all sound like excellent initiatives and completely agree on the COVID front there. So now we move to warm and sunny Barcelona and to Pellegrini. So the COVID-19 pandemic has obviously undermined traditional university practices around teaching and mobility. So how has Utopia been affected by this pandemic? And also, how is Utopia addressing this in the long term?
Thank you, Luke. Before I answer your question, allow me to excuse Rector Casals for not being here today, owing to a close family bereavement. He sends his greetings, though, to all the Utopia community and his good wishes for the success of this Utopia Week. As for your question, as you say, the pandemic has changed our plans significantly, as it has happened to almost every university in the world. The whole education system has had to adapt, and in many instances go digital. This is a fact. In our case, the consequences of this fact are multiple. To mention only two, one, most visibly negative, is the lack of student mobility. Another one, visibly positive, in contrast, is the sudden impulse to the digitalization of higher education. Concerning the first one, concerning student mobility, we are reinventing ourselves and moving to different forms of mobility besides the physical one, virtual and blended, as has been mentioned before. But this was already in our agenda and also in the agenda for the future European universities. But in our case, I think that Utopia's educational model is proving to be very robust. It is based on the existence of solid networks of connected learning communities. Communities formed by students, academics, external stakeholders from all of our universities and regions. And we are confident that this solid structure will guarantee the sufficient flexibility of adaptation of our curricula to the circumstances without losing our profound commitment to face-to-face tuition. That's very important. We don't want to become digital universities, but we want to preserve as much as possible our face-to-face character. To know more about this, I recommend a very interesting panel on Wednesday about Utopia's educational model and the European education area's core objectives. Finally, another recommendation. Do not miss Thursday's session on research and the Sustainable Development Goals. This is another area in which Utopia is deeply engaged. The concept of planetary well-being, which is an overarching topic that guides most of our short and long-term actions. Thank you very much, and I hope all participants will enjoy this second Utopia Week. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pellegrini and François. Exactly, this is the co-tutelle is the scheme I am on at the moment. Thank you so much. Now we can go back to Stuart. So Stuart, we have focused so far on the Utopia's Alliance's philosophy, its development over the past 2 years, and its ambitions around teaching and learning. Could you please tell us a little more about its engagement with external stakeholders?
Yes, of course. We have stakeholders throughout our Utopia work, as Themis and then Martin have commented. But let me just show you perhaps by explanation how our work with stakeholders is affecting Utopia Week, because I think that might give us some flavour. So let me think about 4 different groups of stakeholders. First, if we think about engaging with local industries and our local authorities, we have, for example, a really important panel on Wednesday on university industry partnerships. And on Friday, looking at universities and economic development. Secondly, if we think about stakeholders around the European agenda, we are working closely, as we can see this week, with guest speakers from the Commission and other European networks, for example, on Tuesday, on inclusion for European universities, and on Thursday, on academic careers in higher education. Third, if we think about stakeholders in our local communities and making our work accessible to the broader public, we have tomorrow a really important panel on cities of cultures. We talk a lot in Coventry as Coventry's city of culture. This is cities of cultures. And on Friday, our response to COVID with experts from many universities, giving examples of how universities have helped and engaged. And a fourth group, of course, are our international partners. And I'm delighted to say that we have a number of our international partners participating with this week with us. And I'd particularly like to thank our colleagues at Monash University in Australia, the International University of Rabat in Morocco, and the Pompeu National University in South Korea, all for joining us. Their involvement in our project will bring an added and important element to the development of the Utopia European University, and we look forward to many fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. So it's a wonderful way to end the discussion, referring to all the exciting sessions we will have this week. We hope that you find our program stimulating. It's quite the packed agenda, so I think that it will be something for everyone. But before we free you all, there's one last thing we would like to mention. So there are 2 competitions linked to eWeek. The first is an esports tournament being organized by Warwick's Esports Society. So some brave students, around 200 brave students from all our partners, are currently battling it out in a multi-game tournament that will end on Sunday. We will also have an update about this on our closing ceremony on Friday. And we also given our students a creative challenge, and we look forward to announcing the winner of the Utopia tote bag design competition at the student forum on Wednesday. So I would just like to thank all of our speakers for their contributions, and Luke and I will have the pleasure to see you on Friday for the closing ceremony.
Absolutely. And just before we leave you, allow me to introduce our very last segment. So as with all respectable opening ceremonies, we will end with a piece of music. Now, this piece shows that the Utopia partners have remained creative throughout the pandemic, each performing in different conditions, but all still managing to put on a wonderful performance. So we hope you enjoy this performance, and it's goodbye for now from Alice and I, and we'll see you again on Friday. Have a great week. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.